Think you know the Bible? Think again. Tune in as Rabbi Bentzi Epstein and Tom Levine reveal the extraordinary hidden within the ordinary in Breakneck Through the Bible by Torch Dallas. Each episode may cover just a few verses, but don't let that fool you. Get ready to learn the Bible at a breakneck pace.
We are on page 79, Parshas Vayera, chapter 18, verse 4.
Amazing. Let's take it away. Now remember, again, last episode we talked about how Avraham was going ahead, and he just had circumcised. The third day of his circumcision. The third day is the worst. And it's interesting, by the way, because we said the third day of the operation is the toughest. I actually just had an implant put in my tooth. And in the instructions it said, here's what you do, you take care of it. You should know on the third day, it's going to be the most painful.
And was it?
Thank God I didn't have any pain at all.
Okay.
Shout out to my doctor.
Well, and the benefit of being righteous.
And I just ask Hashem, please, no pain. We have enough pain. And so, that's what, in the instruction, they have printed instructions that they hand you. Day 3 will be the most painful.
Nice.
I think we just learned that. That's fantastic.
Excellent. Let some water be brought and wash your feet, and recline beneath the tree.
Okay, stop here for a minute. Right? So Abraham is now telling his 3 Arab guests that he thinks, right, that he thinks are Arabs right now at this moment in time. Says, let some water be brought and wash your feet and recline underneath the tree.
And as I read this, I was looking for some justification on how Abraham would think they were Arabs, and I think I've come up with a good one.
Yes.
Because it doesn't say, let me wash your foot. It says, let me wash your feet. So he knows in his mind they're not angels, because angels would only have 1 foot.
Excellent. Now, because angels only have 1 foot.
Yeah, so it
right?
can't be wash your feet. It's in the plural. Unless the Hebrew says differently.
No, or what would the other opinion say that it says that he did know they were angels? How would they understand this verse?
He could be talking to them in the collective.
Very good.
Let me wash
your feet, meaning all 3 of you,
okay.
Your 1 foot.
Yeah, that's probably better.
Okay, but clearly they were walking, right? So it seems that they were showing 2 feet.
Yes.
Even though they, again,
yes.
The angel, just to be down here in this world, not to be different, would have that. But anyway, so he goes in and says, let some water be brought and let us wash your feet. This happens to be fascinating. One of the most underrated, catastrophic verses in the Torah.
Tell us why.
Because the verse says, let water be brought. What's interesting is that when he went to bring the meat for them to eat, the bread and the meat, he did himself. Right? If we kind of just look at verse 7, it says, and to the cattle Abraham ran.
Yeah, but didn't he go to Sarah and say,
Sarah start the baking process
to make the bread?
Right, because he couldn't bake the bread and get the cattle. Right. So the guy would be the one to go to get the cattle to get slaughtered.
Yeah. So division of responsibilities,
which is great. And now again, and Sarah is Abraham, right? A husband and wife are a team.
Yeah.
So who did he say let the water be brought?
You're saying who is he?
Who is he instructing to bring the water?
So one might think Ishmael.
No, Yishmael. Very good. Right? Wasn't Eliezer, because was Eliezer. Yishmael was not Yishmael. No. Still, Yishmael was still there. Correct. Right? Yishmael or Eliezer, right? He has servants. Right? But probably Yishmael.
See, I thought maybe Ishmael because he had more affinity towards the Arabs. And we thought at this point they were Arabs.
That's going to be later on. Okay. But again, Yishmael was his son. So he wants to teach him to do... Now, again, one reason that... Now, Yishmael and Eliezer both were hurting a little bit.
Okay, because they too were
circumcised on day 3, and they might not have been so gung ho as Abraham to have company that day. They might have been happy that it was a hot day, but he says, "Let water be brought." What's interesting is that the Talmud says that since Abraham said, "Let water be brought," through a messenger, as opposed to himself. So later on in the desert, when the Jewish people needed water, he did it through the rock and not directly from himself. The manna from heaven, which was their sustenance, came directly from God to us. There was no
much like the meat
from Abraham, directly from Abraham.
Interesting. Wow.
And so the Talmud says, so this was a payback, right? That he's going ahead and he is doing it through a messenger. So God says, okay, I'll bring the water through the rock. Why is that bad? Because Moses, at the end of the 40 years, when Miriam dies and the well stops giving water, and God tells Moses to speak to the rock, and Moses has the episode with the rock, Moses does not go into the land of Israel because there was a mess up in getting the water from the rock. And so therefore, at that point in time...
But that's not why Moses didn't go into the land of Israel.
It is. Because if he would have spoken to the rock and the rock would have given the water, the Jewish people would have been so elevated by that miracle, they would have gone ahead and would have gone straight into the land of Israel.
And then Moses would have built the temple, and that would have been bad.
And that would have been the Messianic era. So
learning that Moses didn't go into the land of Israel because he would have built the temple, and then God would have...
When the Jewish people needed to get destroyed, anything that Moses built couldn't be destroyed.
So help me understand what's different with that line of discussion versus now.
So the reason why Moses wasn't able to sanctify God's name in front of the Jewish people, and thereby curing them to be able to be straight into the Messianic era, because he hit the rock after speaking to the wrong rock,
right?
And he hit it twice, right? And that was why he didn't get to go into the land of Israel.
Okay, and he did tshuva for that.
He did.
But he still wasn't able to go in.
Because the Jewish people still were not inspired. So the long-lasting ramifications of not doing it himself was that eventually that Moses didn't get to go into the land of Israel.
Okay, so let's play this forward for a minute. Are you suggesting that Abraham acted incorrectly and he should have delayed getting the meat for the guests and do the water himself?
Let's go with that.
Because then that would alleviate the whole Moses.
Correct.
Yeah.
The whole Moses story, yes.
But Abraham was thinking he was doing the right thing, one, by teaching Ishmael or Eliezer to get the water, so that he could bring the sustenance more quickly to the guests. I would think that's a good thing, opposed to saying, no, I'm going to do it all myself. Let them sit while I bring water, and then they're going to have to wait even longer. Or are you saying Abraham should have had Eliezer or Ishmael get the meat so that he could have gotten the water? Well, you've got Abraham here having three tasks: getting the water, getting the meat, and getting the bread.
Right, correct.
Okay, so what he decided was, it's more important. The first thing is they need the water.
Right.
But the meat is going to take the longest and be the most involved, so I'm going to do that myself, and Sarah's going to do the bread. You're saying that sequence was incorrect, that he should have done the water. And Sarah would have done the bread, and he would have then had Eleazar or Ishmael, whoever is going to be the third party, do the meat. Or are you saying he should have just let the guests sit there with the water and maybe the bread while he got the meat himself?
Right. Okay, so you're saying divide and conquer. This was the best way to honor the guests.
Yeah.
Good. I'll ask you another question.
I know I'm wrong. I just need your
No.
help.
No. It's a great question. I had a different question.
Yeah.
Which was, if you're trying to train your children in doing a mitzvah, so say, go bring the water, so he's training Yishmael to go do it.
Yes. With alacrity. With
alacrity, with zeal. So then why do you get punished for that? That was a question I had.
So you're saying, so you're basically saying the same question I have. Not why he got punished, but why that action punished the Jewish people.
Right.
That's why I'm asking, did
Correct.
he do wrong?
So,
should he have gotten the water first, and therefore Moses wouldn't have been in the position he was in to have to speak to the rock? Because God would have brought it directly, like he did with the manna.
So that question always bothered me. And so I think the answer to my question was that Yishmael and Eliezer both were probably laid up. They weren't as gung-ho
right.
as
so getting the water would have been
Avraham
easier
was.
Because they're resting at the oasis. That's where the water is. So distance.
No. So it could be, it just says through a messenger, so it could be that he had the women bring the water. Right, because they were the healthy ones.
Okay.
Right, so therefore that's why. So that but if it would have been through Yishmael, then that would have been an acceptable replacement of Avraham, because he's teaching his son how to do the mitzvah. Good. Even though you could also argue, well, let him train him before they come. Don't let him practice on the guest. Like don't do your first surgery. Go practice, and then come and do it. So that's something that is something to really, think about, right? But your question, right, of like, how do you divide and conquer? What's the right way to go and do this? Now, it could be, right? Because the verse says later on, in verse 8, he took the butter and the milk and the meat that he had made, and he put it in front of them. That it could be that he should have stayed right there and had all the servants do all those three things simultaneously.
So he could have spent the time with the guests.
And he would have been there and given, the last mile would have been his, right? He would have given it to them. Okay, it's a good question.
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty. And listeners, if anyone has any suggestions, please feel free to contact us and send it our way.
There's if I may share, a real world example of that in my life today.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever we have guests come over for a barbecue and I grill up the meat and serve it to them, all of the preparation and all of the other food is prepared by my wife, because I'm
on
dividing and conquering. I'm on the grill. But all of the guests thank me because I'm the last mile, and she says, I've done all this work. How come they're always thanking you?
I think it's the fate of women all over the world, because my wife says the same exact thing. She says, I go buy the food. I go make the coleslaw. I go put the food in the oven that's getting cooked in the oven. I set up the table. I clean the tables. And all you do is you stand at the grill. And when I bring you the meat to grill, you grill it and bring it inside. And you're the barbecue. She has the same exact thing.
So the answer going forward is we're being like Abraham.
Okay. So anyway, so Abraham does this through a messenger, let water be brought. Right? And therefore, since he's doing it through a messenger, the Jewish people, later on, in the desert, right? We're talking about 400 years later, the Jewish people are going to get water through a rock rather than directly from God.
Which in itself isn't bad if Moses had picked the right rock to speak to. No?
Okay. So the answer is maybe.
Okay.
Because when they ate the manna, and they went and they picked up the manna, and it came directly from God, as opposed to drinking the water that came through the rock to us, did we feel a difference between eating the manna and drinking the water?
Interesting.
It's interesting. You feel the love,
Yep.
when it comes directly, then rather than it coming through something else. I'll give you an example. If your wife goes out and buys supper and gives you supper because you don't know how to work the app, and whether she cooks supper and gives it to you, right? Which one is more dear to you? Assuming your wife's a good cook.
That's right.
Yeah, Margot's great.
Margot's a good cook, as is Batya. So yes, in those cases, you feel the food has been infused with the affection from the cook.
Correct.
And you're pretty much guaranteed that the Get Hub, there's no love.
Uber Eats, yeah. Right. Right. So it's interesting, yeah. Right? So getting directly from God is like it's really cool. And by the way, we really should feel that way anyway, right? Because we should be able to attach, when we turn on our sink and get water, we should be able to feel that is from God, right? God created the system. We might have, built the pipes and, kind of have it all flowing, but it's really all from God, right? And kind of just appreciating that.
Now, do we ever see that Abraham was rebuked by Hashem for delivering,
for having it brought rather than
him doing it?
Right. So I do not. The biggest rebuke is that the Jewish people got the water through the rock.
Yeah.
Right. That was what had happened.
Okay.
Even though, right, again, to go grab the water and bring it, right, it's, again, to your point, it's got a lot of things to do. So it could be that even though there's not a rebuke, so to speak, this was sort of just a natural consequence of him doing it through somebody else, was that the Jewish people got it through somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, the piece that's always pretty like, crazy is, could you imagine that our actions have the same ramifications?
Tell me more what you mean by that.
What I mean is, the mitzvah you do with your own hand carries more weight, brings more blessing, or might make it that your future generations will get sustenance directly from God rather than through the rock to get the water.
Did you feel that way sometimes?
It's not a question of feeling, it's a question of fact. God repays us every single iota that we do.
Right, but there are certain mitzvahs that we do through a messenger. For example, on Purim coming up, instead of us giving money directly to the poor, I give it to my rabbi for him to distribute to the poor. I'm using him as a messenger. Is that worse than if I said, no, give me the names of a bunch of poor people and I will go and deliver the money directly?
So the answer to that is that the part and parcel of the mitzvah is to do it in a way where it's least embarrassing for the poor person, right? And so that's why giving it through the rabbi is is really the proper way to do it. Or giving and it's interesting, by giving the baskets of food to our fellow, so that we're also supposed to do through a messenger, but that's to include more people in the mitzvah, right? Because that just makes it that we're just happy. It's Purim is a time of tremendous joy, and so that just we're all in doing these mitzvahs all together, right? And that's what makes it such a happy time, right? But it's interesting, right? The Talmud says very interesting. It goes through the Hebrew alphabet, right? Aleph Bina, right? Gomel Dalet, Gimel Dalet. If you notice that the letter Gimel is next to the letter Dalet, the letter Gimel has a foot forward. The way it's written, the way it's written, right? The Gimel has like a foot forward. That we're always supposed to be looking for opportunities to do kindness, and the Dalet, right? That means a poor person. And if you take a look, the letter Dalet is written as a little, like his hand is sticking backwards, right? And that's his hand sticking backwards, so he doesn't see who's giving him the money, so he shouldn't feel embarrassed. So doing that kindness is giving the charity, doing a kindness is absolutely
okay.
Now, by the way, there's a beautiful Orach Chaim. The Orach Chaim is a famous commentary on the Torah, and where it talks about, I think it's in Exodus chapter 22, when you see the ox of your friend wandering on the way, you have an obligation to go and to find that, to return that to its owner. Okay. So what do you think, Tom?
Well, but the ox would be any material object that belongs to the neighbor.
Yeah.
And that by returning it, you're doing a mitzvah.
Good.
Because it belongs to the neighbor.
Right.
Yeah.
So saying it's a nice thing to do.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of things that are nice to do.
Very good.
But yeah, I think it goes a little bit deeper than just being nice.
Uh-huh. Go ahead. Good.
It's kind of like you're reinstating the whole. It belonged to the neighbor. It was part of the neighbor, and now it was broken away, and you're bringing it back into equilibrium. You're fixing it.
Okay. So let's say you're a busy guy.
Well, you're putting yourself out, recognizing the need. You're doing something, the need of the neighbor. You're doing something for the neighbor that's costing you time and effort. And I think that illustrates the importance of the community, of your role in the community, and your obligation as your brother's keeper.
So is that your way of saying it's a good thing to do and you're pro that?
Yes.
Okay. Are you obligated? Judaism, we're very much like black and white, cut to the chase. Thank you very much, Tommy. You're a great guy. You're wonderful. You're terrific. Right? But I'm now asking you a point blank question.
Are you obligated?
Are you obligated? I'm going to use the word obligated. Now, you don't have to work that hard, because in Deuteronomy chapter 22, you shall not see the ox of your brother or his sheep or goat cast off, and hide yourself from them. You shall surely return them to your brother. If your brother is not near you and do not know him, then gather it inside your house, and it shall remain with him until your brother inquires after it, and you return it to him. So shall you do for his donkeys, so shall you do for his garments, so shall you do for any lost article of your brother that may become lost from him, and you find it, you shall not hide yourself.
Okay, so that's
You're
clarified.
obligated.
You're obligated, but not to immediately return the object. You can bring it into your house.
If he's not there.
Yeah, and the next time you see him, you can.
No, hold on. It's not what it says. You shall not see the ox of your brother or sheep or goat cast off and hide yourself in them. Yeah. You shall surely return them to your brother. If your brother is not near you, and you do not know him, then you shall gather it inside your house, and it shall remain with you until your brother inquires after it. And you shall return it to him. So you shall do for his donkey, so you shall do for his garment, so you shall do for any lost article of your brother. It may become lost from him, and you find it, you shall not hide yourself.
And your brother is any Jew.
Correct.
Yeah.
So this is a commandment. This is not a nice thing. Okay? This is something that you are required to do.
But, okay, I hear that, Rabbi. But what if you find the ox while you are in the process of doing a mitzvah?
Okay, great question.
Can I not just bring the ox into my house so I can complete the mitzvah I was working on, and then I'll go and I'll return?
Yes. But that's when you have two mitzvahs to do. Which one are you supposed to do first? Absolutely. Okay. Now,
you could argue, at least for you in your life, you are really moving between one mitzvah and another.
Correct. I try to be.
So
we actually ask God to make our lives busy with mitzvahs.
So then you're saying you find the ox, you'll always be in the position of finding and doing a mitzvah. So
correct. Give busy people things to do, because busy people get things done. Absolutely.
Right. So you can bring the ox into your house, and the next time you see, not maybe the next time, but when you're finished your mitzvah, you can then return the ox.
You shall then return the ox. Correct.
Yeah. Okay. So only in the case that you weren't doing anything. I'm sorry. No. If you weren't doing a mitzvah,
which is not doing anything,
then you're obligated to immediately go and return it.
Correct, but you at least have to gather it in. You can't let it wander away.
Right.
Why?
Well, if you go, then you lose the opportunity. It could get killed. Or you could lose sight of it.
The answer is because God brought that animal into your life for you to do this mitzvah.
Okay, good.
Says the Orach Hayim HaKadosh, the holy Orach Hayim. What about if your friend lost a non-physical object? Let's say he lost God. Let's say he lost his connection to God. Are you obligated to return it? Or is this only talking about a physical object?
I mean, I think from my limited knowledge of study of Judaism, the spiritual would always come first.
Very good. Excellent. And that's exactly what the Orach Hayim says. When you see the ox of your brother, who's your brother? So listen to what it says. Listen to what he says. It says something incredible. He says a tzaddik, somebody, a righteous person, is considered, quote unquote, brother with God. So when you see the ox of your brother or his sheep wandering, and that's referring to the Jewish people, ox and sheep, the holy sheep of God, wandering along the way, not knowing anything, you are not allowed to turn away, but you are required to go and to teach them Torah.
And that could be bringing them to a class. That's not necessarily you teaching them Torah.
Correct. Right. You have to figure out what is the best way to do it. Because that God brought them to you means that you have a connection and a requirement that other people don't have. Right? That means that you have a obligation that somebody else does not have, and it's your obligation to do something, and you are not allowed to hide yourself or to remove yourself from that obligation.
Okay. Do you ever get into a situation where two Jews could compete to perform the same mitzvah?
Of course. In fact, says the Talmud, if you and I are sitting here and Joe comes in and Joe says, Bentzi, can I borrow your pen? And I say, sure. And you, Tom, on time, Tom, alacrity, you whip out your pen and you say, here's a pen. Do you know that you owe me money?
Really?
Because you stole my mitzvah?
Now, it doesn't matter that you might have a big pen and I'm lending him a Mont Blanc. That doesn't
Of course. No. Of course that would be the case. So the answer is
interesting.
If you would come in and say, hey, could I borrow a pen? And then it's me and you,
first come, first
serve, right? Who's going to alacrity to grab that mitzvah?
But if
he asks me and you say, oh, here it is, you've stolen my mitzvah and you owe me money. Now, by the way, it might be the best money you ever spent, but it wouldn't be nice to me. You made me feel bad because you took away my mitzvah.
And I couldn't rectify that by providing you with an alternative mitzvah.
So you're gonna pay me with another mitzvah. So it's very interesting, right? It's like, right? Is that we go ahead and we have different, right? It's amazing, right? How the system is set up where the obligation is. So now, if your brother is not near you, continues the Avraham on this chapter 22 in Deuteronomy. We'll repeat this when we get to breakneck, right? Episode 3472 in Deuteronomy. But if your brother's not near you, i.e. God is, right? We're in Gullus, we're in exile. So then what do you have to do? And you don't know, right? He doesn't know where God is. What happens then? Says the verse, you have to take your brother into your house. And he has to stay with you until God comes looking for him. And then you have to give him back. Teaching our fellow Jews about God, about Torah, about mitzvahs, right, is not a nice thing. It is a nice thing. It's an amazing thing.
But it's a requirement.
It's a requirement. And it's one of those requirements that, we know when you have to go ahead, you have to sit in a sukkah, right? We do that. Or shake a lulav and esser, go eat a piece of matzah, right? Right? Those are quantifiable mitzvahs, kind of like set up, So those quantifiable, set up, it's easy to do.
You can check them off a list.
You can check them off a list, really, right? And for you list keepers, Tom, not saying you specifically, but you list keepers, you go ahead. And we sort of have an affinity for those mitzvahs that we could check off. For the mitzvahs that aren't so boxable, aren't so check-offable, we kind of, kind of maybe, and we're kind of like, just, I guess we're a little more slouchy. Right? You know what I'm saying? Like we let them slide. We sort of like we don't engage them because we never know when we've fulfilled them. The more the gray area. And we crave, or some of us crave, the black and the white. The clear cut what things are. This whole story with Abraham and the water and we're going to see that the things that were gotten, the long-term ramifications on them are astronomical. Actually, what's taking place,
like with the water,
and like with the water Moses, and
okay.
there's even more, because
great.
It is just like just mind-boggling on how that is. Alrighty, so now we'll see if we'll be able to get to them today, because it's. So again, so verse 4 said, let some water be brought, right? Those critical words. And wash your feet. Why do you want them to wash their feet?
Well, one opinion is that the dust on their feet is a representation of idolatry, because at that time, Abraham was thinking they were idol worshippers. And before he could bring them into his house, he needed to
wash their feet.
Yeah.
To remove the idolatry from the feet. Excellent. Right? And that's right. He thought they were regular non-Jews who were idolaters. And they used to worship in those days, the dust. And if you're living in a wilderness, right, you can understand, right, how dust it's all over, all pervasive. You need it to grow anything, right? You could use it to stop up the holes in your wall. It has a lot of purpose, and so they used to worship it. And he says, right, come stay here and wash your feet.
And yet, isn't there a holiness to the dust as well?
What do you mean?
Well, we're created from the
dust.
From the dust.
Yeah. So that's why we created from the dust. Because I look at it, I always, as a kid, used to think dust is like such dirt, like dirt is nothing, right? But ultimately, dirt is this incredible thing that you put a seed in there, you put water in there, and then it grows, right? It's sort of the bastion of life, right? It's the Hebrew word is chomer. It's the matter from which we're created, because we have the soul is planted within us, and now we
So isn't that a contradiction now that Abraham is wanting them to wash this dust off them?
Because this dust they were using to deny God, rather than a dust to go ahead to use it to connect to God. And then he tells them what? V'hishanu tachas ha'etz, right? And relax under the tree. What tree is, what are the trees here? What's the tree doing here?
I thought you said that was the tree that Abraham planted.
Because later on in chapter 21, right, we're told that Abraham plants orchards for people to be able to eat, either for the fruits to serve to guests or for people to rest underneath. Right, so he put them underneath a tree, because those of us in Texas know, growing up in Muncie, I never understood that. So like, why are you planting trees? Right, if it's 100 degrees outside, it doesn't matter if you're underneath a tree or not. That's not really true. Right, you come to Texas, you begin to realize that if you're sitting underneath a nice shady tree,
makes a big difference.
Makes a big difference.
Yeah.
And even if it's 100 degrees outside, but the sun's not beating on you, like it gives you a
it's refreshing.
It's refreshing.
I mean
as much as it could be, but it takes it. You wash your feet. It's like it becomes a place that you can rest. And it's interesting because the trees that Abraham planted, and this, I'm pretty sure I need to find the source for it, but the trees that Abraham planted was the acacia wood trees, which Jacob took down with him when he went down to Egypt, and they were with the Jews for 210 years in Egypt. And then, when the Jewish people left Egypt, they took those trees with them, and those were the trees that they went to use to build the tabernacle. And it's fascinating And now I'll give you my little what's that teaching us? So it's teaching us that the trees that are going to produce the resting place for God in this world, what do they have to be used for? They had to first be used for doing kindness to other people. And when it was used for kindness for other people, God says, those are the trees that I want to use to build my home in this world.
Wow. Nice.
Is like that's heavy.
Yeah.
You know, we forget that how we act in this world is kind of so powerful. And what we think is important and what God thinks is important can be two very different
Right.
things.
We hope we're aligned. But
we're aligned.
Often we're not. We'll do that.
Right. And really going ahead and really being able to go ahead and you know, and like that's like super important.
So, Rabbi, I think this is a good stopping point. Plus, it is a record for us. We have done a whole episode on one verse. So we will pick up on chapter 18, verse 5.
Next episode. Thank you, Tom.
Thanks, Rabbi.
Have a great day.
You've been listening to Breakneck Through the Bible by Torch Dallas. Visit torchdallas.net for more mind-expanding episodes that will forever change how you read the Bible.